today is going to be live here just momentarily. And, you know, we're coming up to that point. We're now past the half point. We have some winners brackets. Who else will be advancing? And, well, that's what we're going to have to find out right now.
Well, do you think they're going to ban Cruel here?
That's a good question. I mean, GankStars first pick, nope, they're going to say no Black Feather. So Tsunami, unless they're the ones to ban it and it doesn't get first pick, they still have a chance.
So, yeah, no, it's looking like, you know, Tsunami will be able to pick up this Cruel that Look At Me was talking about. However, with Scarf, you know, falling out of favor recently, what do you feel like Cruel is able to match it up with? I know I'm asking you the question just as to be asking me.
Yes, well, the roles have been reversed. Well done, sir. But with a no Adagio here, I can't imagine that a Cruel will be kind of on deck, because a lot of the talk is using the weakness stacks to kind of counter out the buff comp, but it's not going to be a buff comp this round. But he still said he could play Glaive, and it's still a choice. Now, we have been seeing a lot of Lance first pick here, Jinyi, and that's now the Sky answer. Still could be a Glaive last pick. Yeah,
and you know, I've said before, and I'll say again, I really do like the Sky against the Lance, because, you know, it's very difficult for him to land impale on her, so she can avoid being rooted quite easily.
Nope, there it is.
See, I don't feel like picking up Sky going up against Lance is like the greatest thing, due to the fact that you're picking a carry to counter out against a roamer. You know, there's a lot more things that you can really move around, making sure that you do get the advantage throughout the drafting phase.
Well, interesting. An artillery cannon and then the red mist of Rona. We're going to have to see which one will prevail, guys. And we are going to be throwing it to our new Action Jackson and Tasty Bacon combo.
Thank you very much, Forecourt. We're excited to be here in Europe. It's been awesome casting the North American Championships, but now we've moved across the pond. It's been a while since you and I have cast together. I'm very excited to get this one underway. And speaking of other unusual things, GankStars weren't actually in the North American Championship this time for like one of the first times ever, but they have a team in Europe now, so they're still getting some representation.
Yeah, so no GankStars in North America for the first time ever. And now GankStars in Europe for the first time ever. So the Spring Championships, it's a season of firsts, as we are casting, as you mentioned, first time since autumn season, I believe, for the two of us together. But we are here now with this matchup. GankStars, I'm really excited to see what they bring out, because I haven't had much opportunity to watch them in-game.
Yeah, you know, it's certainly been something where, at least with Aeon, we haven't seen a lot of it. But guys, we're on to the Halcyon Fold. GankStars and Snow Tsunami, two juggernauts of the European scene. And it's exciting to see which one of these guys is going to come out across. Let's talk about the draft. You heard the thoughts of the analysts earlier. How do you feel we're going to be looking at this?
I kind of have to agree with them. Obviously, the Sky pick, I'm not actually too big on in this situation. Obviously, Sky is really mobile. You know, a lot of teams were talking about how they thought Sky was going to play a large role in this tournament, but in this particular situation, I feel like there were many better picks they could have taken.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how No Life does on it. Obviously a very skilled player, so he should be able to try and find some avenues and edges with that hero. At the moment, though, Snow Tsunami, they're playing things pretty safely. Neither one of these teams really going for early aggression. You can see Snow actually trying to back up No Life in the lane, make sure those ganks don't come across from Emmer King and Aeon.
Yeah, the thing that's been surprising me the most thus far, I mean, we're only 2 series in, is the presence of Rona. Rona has just come out of nowhere, really, especially
out of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, pretty much, especially with everyone playing the Killer Bunny Rona skin, which, why wouldn't you? Such a phenomenal skin. But it's not a pick that I anticipated. I mean, we heard some teams talking about Celeste. Obviously, everyone's been talking about the Lance, but no one really talked about Rona too much.
Yeah, look at me. He's got to be careful here, though. Vanguard coming across. Nice root out of Emmer King. With No Life rotating down, they should be able to stop this aggression. GankStars not going to be able to keep the pressure on, at least without some kind of a rotation from Tetno. Aeon, he's trying to make it happen. Look at the damage onto him. He's already going quite low. No Life dodging out from that Impale. He's going to be able to get back. The Smite not doing enough. First blood of the series going to be going the way of Tsunami with a great peel there.
Yeah, it was a really phenomenal job of the entire team working together to make sure that the damage just wasn't there. The sticking power wasn't there for Aeon. Krull is going to have some difficulties early on. Obviously, it's a hero that if he's not the one making the engages, if he's not the one finding the opportunities, it can be rather difficult. As we take a look at the replay, you can see he's trying to get those stacks built up, but it just ends up being split largely, and only 1 or 2 stacks really going down there onto Sasiska, which was the target he could have had an easier time hitting, especially this early into the game.
Yeah, I feel like had that joke poke actually landed, the impale from Lance, then perhaps No Life would have eaten 1 or 2 more stacks of weakness. The pop from the smite would have been enough. But No Life doing exactly what Jingyi was predicting on the analyst desk, just using that Surrey Strike to reposition, avoid the fairly telegraphed and long animation of that impale, and manage to get back and kite Aeon out. So already you can see Tsunami starting to use their composition in a very smart way. But GankStars, you've got to wonder if maybe that was a bit too much aggression for them. They really couldn't follow through there.
Yeah, I'm actually a huge fan of when in the early game, especially the first 4 minutes or so, when you have an opportunity to hit your opponent's roamer, take it, because the roamer is not going to be that huge tanky menace that he takes, forever to try and take down. And we saw he started to get a couple of stacks there onto Sasiska, but then tried to focus onto No Life, which, again, the Sky is just going to be able to kite you out. So much movement speed on that hero, whereas Arden would have had to just stand there and take it. I feel like it would have been a much better decision. However, obviously, First Blood not going to be costing too much. The first kill of the game isn't going to decide anything.
So we heard the teams talking about synergy, because obviously both of these guys coming into the European Championships, missing one of their star players. I feel like their GankStars, what happened is, they didn't really wait long enough for Tetno. They just saw an opportunity to try to take it too quickly. And as a result of maybe the lack of synergy they have with Aeon and the lack of time they've had to prepare, they didn't really have that cohesion going into the fight, something that they need to really pay attention to moving forwards.
I feel with both teams having that sort of little bit of lack of synergy, it definitely has an advantage towards Snow Tsunami, because these players already had synergy previously with Look At Me. So him filling in for PT Lamb isn't as big of a difference for them, because they had been playing with Look At Me in previous seasons.
All right, so let's take a look across the board at the items right now, because both these teams starting to make their way towards their first big purchases. No Life has got quite a lot of crystal power right now with that 1 weapon blade I assume he was using for CSing in lane. Do you like this build? It looks like maybe he's just going for the Shadow Glass, but he has picked up some energy regeneration as well.
Yeah, it's something that we see a lot with these guys, just getting that 1 early weapon blade, sometimes even 2, just to help out with that last hitting, get a little bit of gold. Obviously, it has been sold now in favor of getting a little bit more crystal. The one built items that's surprising me is actually Ion, but we do see a fight starting up.
That's a lot of damage. Tetno JJ gets obliterated. Look at me doing a great job of just jumping right into the fray there, making the kills happen. Tsunami, they started off pretty slow this game, but they've started to build some speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they continue this, eventually it will just be this giant snowball coming down the mountain. But
that's Avalanche. This is Tsunami.
But it's they still need to be wary of the late game Krull. And as we've seen already also with late game Celeste, the amount of damage that can come out of her
pretty
with
sick
the
earlier.
Lance Celeste has turned out to be such a strong combo, because the problem with Celeste has always been that, yeah, everyone agreed she does a ton of damage, but it was really easy to dive onto her and take her out of a fight. And with a Lance and now a Krull as well, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, as I like to call it, the Githian wall, the stall wall, does a great job of stalling for your carries. It buys them a lot of time to maneuver around the back line, make the damage happen. And there's no one really who's better at that than someone like a Celeste, who just has such high damage per second if she is in the clear, if she's safe. So exactly like you said, I really like the composition coming out of GankStars. It's something we're really seeing come to light in 118. Snow Tsunami, though, I mean, they've definitely got some ingredients that they can use to deal with that. Things like the Rona, great at jumping in there. Gauntlet as well. Here comes potentially what could be a fight as Siska moves forward. Doesn't have the Gauntlet yet, though. Hard for him to really commit to a kill.
Yeah, without having that level 6, it's really difficult for Snow Tsunami to make those repositions in the middle of a fight. Obviously, once you have that gauntlet down, you can use the kiting ability of Sky to try and draw your enemies towards that wall to get the stun. Also, if it can land directly on an opponent, obviously, that's really strong as well. But both roamers now having a fountain, but here comes a fight.
Yeah, Aeon, oh, he doesn't quite get hit by that joke poke as No Life kiting around on the backside. Tetno hasn't found the opportunity to really go in there, get the poke damage down. The fight was in a very weird position for both of the teams, and I think Snow realized they couldn't completely commit there, knowing that Tetno was on the other side of the wall.
8 minutes in, the game is so even. Despite the 2 kills going over to Team Snow, the gold is just about, it's actually 200 to 300 in favor of GankStars instead. And you look down at the farm, you can see it's actually with Ion having a slight lead in the farm in the jungle, as the 2 laners are pretty much dead even. So that's really where all of that gold difference, what little of it there is, it's pretty much all just in the jungles.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing for No Life is he's picked up the kill credit for both of the kills on Snow Tsunami, so he's really making up for a lot of it in that respect. Notice that he's spending a lot of time in lane right now, kind of taxing that away from Look At Me. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's one of those situations where we've seen, we noticed it in earlier games, where if a team starts prioritizing one type of defense, you want to then allow your other carry that's going to be building the other damage, whether it's weapon or crystal, you want to prioritize getting farm onto them so that they can become stronger. So a bunch of shield coming out early for the side of GankStars, so a little bit more of the farm goes into this weapon power Rona.
Snow Tsunami, they've just hit some big power spikes, picking up the Broken Myth on No Life, picking up the Serpent's Mask on Look At Me. You can see they were kind of tempted to go for a fight there, running around the periphery of GankStars, looking for an opening. They couldn't quite find it though. However, this rotation up to lane, I like this a lot. GankStars, look at the Tetno. He has to go all the way around there. Can't quickly get back to lane.
Yeah, very smart to go all the way around there, though. We see teams all the time go trying through that bush, but there's some damage coming out now, and it looks like Snow Tsunami wants this.
The damage is ridiculous. Just spinning to win right there, picking himself up. A huge kill down onto Tetno JJ. That's going to buy a lot of space on the map for Snow Tsunami to leverage. Going for the gold mine right now.
Yeah, gold mine are going to be picked up pretty easily off the back of that fight. We'll see if King and Ayan want to try and make some play on that, but no, that is going to be the immense gold payout being secured by Snow Tsunami, and now they're the ones with about 1,500 gold lead thanks to that. Looking at the replay, that gauntlet was just absolutely beautiful, getting 2 members stunned and allowing them to finalize that kill.
Yeah, very nice work by Snow Tsunami. They've certainly done a good job of trying to take this game by the horns and really get that advantage they had earlier on and build upon it. Already, you can see Tetno, I mean, even just the poke coming out of No Life and Sisiska, stopping him from being too aggressive, but Aeon wants to change that. Going in here, you see, again, Surrey Strike. No Life, I mean, he is definitely having a great time in these fights because he can just Surrey Strike back from, frankly, the relatively immobile Aeon and King, who burns a lot of that initiation right off the bat.
Yeah, and so No Life, again, getting all 3 of those kills, like you mentioned, really helping him out in this lane matchup to get a lead on a Sky over something like a Celeste is really important. Celeste, again, very immobile. The whole composition, really, from GankStars, very immobile with the exception of Lance. So Sky should be able to hit quite a bit of that forward barrage.
What do you think about Sisiska getting the Atlas Pauldron here? Do you think that that makes sense against Aeon, or would you rather the itemization be focused towards Tetno JJ?
I definitely think it makes sense against Aeon. Anytime there's a Kroll, you want that Atlas Pauldron, at least 1. At the very minimum 1, just because those weakness stacks can be absolutely devastating. You can see Ayan is actually building 2 of the attack speed items. So he's the Atlas Pauldron, if there is no attack speed being built, then it's not as useful, it's not as powerful. But because he has the Blazing Salvo and Swift Shooter, you definitely want to have at least 1 of the Atlas Pauldrons there.
Yeah, so very intelligent itemization out of these 2 teams. Looking across on the other side, we have gotten early Aegis and very early travel boots on Aeon. That's certainly going to be helping him stick onto the key targets. And of course, it looks like for the side of Tetno JJ, just going maybe for an Eve of Harvest next.
Yeah, actually, going back to those travel boots, it's that's one of the problems that I feel like GankStars is going to have, is that they need those early travel boots on AN. You know, travel boots, everyone kind of widely regards them as kind of one of the biggest wastes of money in the game because they don't give you nearly enough for the gold. But he needs that movement speed. It's absolutely required. So you can argue it's a little bit more worthwhile in this situation, but having just dropped that so much gold on those just boots, not getting any combat stats out of it, it can make things tough.
Do you think the next big power spike for GankStars is going to be some Shiver Steals? Because at the moment, they haven't picked up any of those. They don't have a Frostburn on Techno either. And with someone like No Life who's extremely mobile, that seems like something they really need to get soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Aeon should be getting a Shiver Steal as his next item. Is actually just a few gold short of that, but it looks like we may be having a fight.
Ziska, he's taking a lot of damage. Githian Wall stops the gauntlet from coming across. Aeon wants to keep the fight going. Look at that Solar Storm from the side too. Techno JJ with great damage on a No Life. No Life Surrey striking back into the fight. That was a very bold move. It did not pay off. First kill of the game for GankStars. It finally picked it up. So Ziska, Githian Wall doing some serious work right there, keeping King alive. And now look at me, 1 versus 2, getting weakened a little bit. He's going to try and exit the fray into the base of his opponents. The recall coming across. Can he get through? He gets out. Very nice juke from Look at Me. He escapes to the relative safety of the other side of the map. But interesting fight. Bacon, what happened there? It seems like Snow Tsunami, they had a tremendous lead coming into it, but they couldn't put it to good use.
Honestly, one of the biggest keys to that fight, and I'm so happy that it's happened here, was the Githian Wall blocking the gauntlet. If that gauntlet lands, it could completely change the landscape of that fight. But a beautiful wall coming out from the side of GankStars to block it, and it was really what made that fight.
Okay, so Shiver Steel now on Aeon. We've got a Warhorn on King, and we also saw a weapon infusion picked up for Aeon. So they definitely want to fight sometime soon, and they've got the power spikes to do it. Where's it going to happen? Is it going to be Kraken? That's not too far away.
Yeah, Kraken could definitely be an option in, like you said, about 40 seconds here or so. It will be up. They're going to put some pressure onto this turret. And look, they can find a fight here in this choke point, if not at the Kraken. And here we go.
Techno, he's jumped on. Look at me with the blood wrist. He's doing a good job. King falling very, very low, but the fountain just barely coming out at the last second. It's going to keep GankStars alive for the time being. Look at me. Oh, the core collapse. That was beautiful from Techno. The Solar Storm does not land. The gauntlet not in time, though. Now it's Aeon up against No Life. No Life kiting pristinely on the back line, but he misses the forward barrage there. Now Techno trying to keep the fight going. Doesn't have very much energy, but he's baiting in for Aeon. Is it going to be enough? No Life finds one. Death from above. It stuns him. Surrey strike back. There's no forward barrage energy, though. Aeon quite tanky. It's not going to work for GankStars. Ace for Snow Tsunami. That fight was so back and forth.
That was a ridiculous fight. It looked like at first that Snow Tsunami we were just going to run all over that fight, but a beautiful job by Techno JJ to kite around and just keep dropping the Heliogenesis on top of Snow Tsunami, making it a very, very close fight, much closer than it had any right to be. Looking at this replay, first of all, this just the kiting ability of No Life here to get over the wall multiple times. We didn't see there was one part where he just Surrey striked over the wall and then came back in later, and we didn't get to see it there in that replay, but it was a phenomenal job of kiting by both sides, really. But Snow Tsunami, that early advantage they picked up early on in that fight is what allowed them to win it.
And, you know, the way that they did that was, look at me, doing a great job of leading the Vanguard for his team, just jumping right in there, doing so much damage. Look how quickly Kraken is falling.
Here's the
GankStars, they do not want to let this one go for free, though. Coming in here, they're going to aggro up the Kraken a little bit, starting to regen that health. Snow Tsunami, they got to be careful here, but here comes the fight. Techno is right in the thick of things, but he's going to be able to kite back just a little bit. Is it going to be enough? He's sustaining somewhat, but look at me doing exactly the same, and he is doing so much damage right now. Aeon, he's got his work cut out for him to make something happen here. Gauntlet going across from Sasiska. No one falls from Tsunami. King denies the ace, but there's no way he's going to stop this Kraken.
Yeah, it was a great death from above to start things off on that fight by No Life. It got a stun, I believe it was onto Techno JJ to start things off, and just the damage from Sky, Surrey striking and forward barraging through that fight with the Shattered Glass to follow up off of the Broken Myth. The damage coming out of No Life is immense.
All right, so let's take stock. Snow Tsunamis. Tsunami. Obviously, they've picked themselves up the Kraken here. That's a great deal for them. They've got Bone Saw now and Rona, weapon and crystal infusions all over the place. They're in a great position to push down the game here. They've got a solid gold lead. GankStars, how do they defend this?
They defend this by playing Protect the Celeste. That's really all that they can try and do. Mir King and Aeon need to team up to ensure that Techno JJ stays alive on the back lines. They're getting some good damage onto the Kraken, and it doesn't really look like Snow is looking to engage on it. But now, with this turret going down, we may have a fight.
No Life is doing a great job of staying on the periphery, getting those forward barrages down onto Techno JJ, even through the defensive formation that GankStars had there. Kraken's falling quite quickly, though. They got to go in soon if they want to make it happen. Aeon with the stun lands onto Sasiska, not the best target, but No Life. He does get Githian walled into the barricade. Techno, the Solar Storm, not quite going to be enough, and look at me sustaining right back up. No Life doing exactly what you mentioned earlier on, back and forth over the wall, buying time, trying to get the damage down. Emmer King has done a good job of stopping Look at Me from going onto the backline, though, and the Kraken falling. Looks like Snow Tsunami will be repelled for the time being.
Yeah, it was the Solar Storm. While it wasn't enough to secure a kill, it did so much damage, connecting on all three members. And again, keeping Techno JJ alive. That's the key for GankStars. If they can continue to do so, they can hold on and get this to a little bit later. They need about another 5 minutes, I'd say, or so, before they would be at a point where they can consistently win fights. But for now, just holding on is what they need to do.
So what does that mean in terms of itemization? What do GankStars need to pick up? We've seen Frostburn now on Techno, so he will be able to kite a lot better, but does he need like a Shatterglass just for the damage?
I feel like he needs to finish off an Aegis for Techno JJ, just to have that extra shield to deal with the Sky. But as far as damage, I mean, he's pretty much almost got 4 full items for damage. The Heavy Prism is obviously not finished, but you can't really focus too much more on damage if you're Techno JJ because you need to be staying alive. I would like to see those Blazing Salvos be finished into something by Kroll, because right now the damage from Kroll just isn't there. He's being purely as a tank and utility, when if you have that little bit of extra damage, I feel it can completely change the course of a fight. No Life just got Eve of Harvest. We've got some of the crystal infusions. Aeon doesn't land the boomerang. That is bad news for GankStars. Look at me on the back line. Techno the target. The gauntlet landing this time. Oh, that was a ridiculous jump onto Techno. He had no chance of getting out of there, and Aeon shortly to follow. At this point, Snow Tsunami, they see the victory in sight. Going for Emmer King as well. They want the ace. And no, look at me, should be able to jump in there and pick up the kill. Very well played by Tsunami. They're in a great position to just close out the game right now. Yeah, they don't need the minions. They don't need the Kraken. With 30 seconds on these death timers and only 1 turret remaining, they can easily go in and finish this one off. That it was a hero play attempt by Aeon with that boomerang from Hell's Heart, but it didn't connect. And the moment that ultimate was down, you could see Snow Tsunami just turned around and took the fight and took the game, taking game number 1 of this series against GankStars. Very interesting if you look at it from a seeding perspective. Seed 2 against Seed 7, but both teams missing, of course, one of their key members from the qualifiers. It seems to have worked out better, at least for the time being, for Snow Tsunami. Obviously, look at me doing an excellent job in this game. 1 for 1 for 8. He didn't get a lot of the glory, but he did a great job of setting up No Life for success. Moving forwards, how do GankStars adapt? Honestly, I would like to see them have more damage. Like, let Aeon have some damage threat coming out of the jungle. This is compositions we've seen in North America multiple times as well, of pretty much putting all of your damage eggs into one basket, and it usually lost. It's a composition I really just do not agree with. Yeah, it certainly didn't seem to pan out. All of the focus going on to Techno, none of it really needing to go on to Aeon, gave a lot of options for how Snow Tsunami played these fights. They could jump in with so many different angles, so many different ways.
Different first pick.
Well, with the Lance first pick Lance is being played as a flex pick. I would pick a counter that's really good going up against Lance in the lane, but I wouldn't focus too much on finding somebody that counters Lance up as a roamer.
Well, that being said, a lot of these teams in their interviews said a lot of good things about Sky as that kind of counter pick because of the mobility. It worked out once, maybe it'll work out again. The draft is going to be ready here momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. As we jump into it, we are going to find out, will this be a 2-0? Will this be a 2-1? Snow, having that Vainglory sub though, Xinyi, he still looked really strong.
It's working really well. We saw how good Look At Me was with that Rona. He was just doing so much.
Absolutely. So Tsunami says we're going to take out Crow. GankStars saying we're not going to let you buff comp whatsoever. Is this a Lance? Yep, it's totally a Lance from.
And you know, this is the first time that we have seen Snow Tsunami pick up Lance. We've seen every other team do so far, but this is their first initial attempt at it.
Right.
And this is going to really have to show something. Like, will this be a flex pick? Will this be a roamer? Where are they going to fit up this Lance? Because Snow Tsunami, they tend to favor those late game compositions.
I was going to say, if GankStars doesn't take an Arden, could you actually put an Arden with the laning Lance? I believe that we saw that in game 1 of our first series today.
Team Secret, right?
Team Secret.
Yeah, it works very well. Lance does give you that sustainability. What we do see here is like they will be playing Lance in that roam, and I feel like as long as Lance is able to use that Gettian's wall, pushing everybody away from that Ringo. Ringo's early game is actually fairly dominant.
Right, yeah. Now, if this was North America, I'd say we're in for a double weapon, but Xinyi, we're in Europe. Is that a Crystal Ringo?
I think it could be a Crystal Ringo, but then again, it could be double weapon. We know anything goes at this stage of the game.
And it looks like the collapse comp is complete. We're going to try for a Black Feather followed up by a Sky. We'll have to see if the Snow will turn red this round, but to bring you all the action, it will be once more Action Jackson and Tasty Bacon.
All right, looking forward to getting into the second game. Snow Tsunami right out of the gates came in very strong. They looked good all throughout that previous game. They played it smartly as well. You know, in the early game, they didn't go too aggressive. They waited till they had that advantage, and they really made it work for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they're coming out with, you know, something that we saw a lot in North America, maybe not the exact heroes, but very likely going to be a double weapon composition for Team Snow. Really excited to see how this one plays out. And of course, Black Feather Sky, the Sky Feather coming out from GankStars. So two very, very strong lineups.
All right, let's hop onto the fold for this game, ladies and gentlemen. Snow Tsunami leading 1-0 in the series so far. One more win, and they'll be moving forward to the winner's bracket tomorrow. If GankStars lose, they're going to drop into that elimination bracket. It's very tough mentally to be in that position. I'm sure they do not want to, so they're going to be looking to come back in this game, force that Game 3 blind pick.
Yeah, we can also take a look at the first item purchases here for GankStars. And also starting with a weapon blade. Obviously, TechnoJJ going to have that Book of Eulogies to start things off, so you don't necessarily know where that build is going to go. You expect the weapon power Black Feather at this point because that just has always been for the past like 2 patches what you do with Black Feather. I'm actually a big fan of the Crystal Black Feather, even though no one really runs it. I feel like it is actually something that's still viable, but the top teams obviously disagree.
Well, you know, one would assume that they know quite well what to do, but, you know, to be honest, I actually heard from a lot of players that they didn't think the weapon Lance would be a thing, and it's something I kind of predicted back in the downtime stream. It worked out for Team Secret earlier on, so maybe you're onto something. In fact, wasn't it you that came up with the weapon Arden thing way back when?
I did.
I got to give you props
The weapon
for
Arden, it's sort of my baby. I really want to see more people run weapon Arden, but it just hasn't, unfortunately, come out yet. With the crystal bit now being grabbed by Ian, I highly doubt we're going to be seeing a crystal Black Feather. Of course, you know, I think things on the table, but now with that first shop, going to be that Swift Shooter picked up for TechnoJJ and some armor just to help, again, deal with this early damage composition from Snow.
I like getting the light armor this early on against double weapon power. In some of these early game fights, it can really be the difference between going down and securing a kill for your team. Now, looking at the compositions here, actually, hang on a second. Siska finds that Impale. Great Githian wall into the Shopkeeper wall there, but look at me. He's not going to be able to find a good afterburn here. King getting knocked back towards his side of the map, his turret and safety. Snow Tsunami really playing this much more aggressively than the previous game, though no life. Look at the damage. He's doing a lot to Aeon right now, but Aeon returning in kind. Beautiful forward barrage, really chunking out no life, stopping Tsunami from making too much happen here.
Yeah, that triple crystal bit start for the Sky just puts out so much damage. It is really difficult to deal with in the early game. But right now, Techno JJ, you know, he's one of those players that always seems to have just an immense amount of farm on him, and especially on a Blackfeather, I expect nothing less because Blackfeather has a really easy time farming up against a hero like a Ringo. It's very frequent that we'll see Blackfeather get up by 20, 30 CS around the 10-minute mark against a Blackfeather or against a Ringo.
That is a good point. So, looking at the compositions real quick, how do each of these teams win the game? Like, what is their edge that they have against their opponents? Who wants the late game? Who wants the early game?
Well, the early game, you have to say, is going to be in favor of Snow Tsunami. A glaive with a Ringo early on, there's so much damage, so much harassment, but look at this fight!
Yeah, look at me really overextending there. I think he was expecting that the rotation would come quicker from Snow Tsunami, but they didn't make a move very fast from the lane. No Life prioritizing, shoving it out. It's going to be the first kill of the game for GankStars, doing much better than the previous game. Look at this, Techno wants No Life as well. No Life, he pushed way too far up. He knew that one of his teammates had just gone down. You got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is definitely not the way that you want to be playing this early game if you're Snow Tsunami. You have a glaive and a Ringo. You have so much harassment, so much early damage. You throw in a Lance in there as well, and they're not taking advantage of this. They're not trying to invade. They're not trying to put pressure on the lane. It's been GankStars the ones that have been doing everything that you would expect this composition from Snow to be doing.
Well, certainly this is going to set up GankStars for a great mid and late game if they can keep the pressure up. They're only about 400 gold in the lead right now. Nothing too tremendous, but certainly a worrying fact for Snow Tsunami. They're obviously going to be trying to take home this second game and move forward in style with that 2-0. GankStars, what are they up to right now? They're just moving around the jungle, allowing Snow to really take control of the lane.
Yeah, you can see in these items just how much armor is already being prioritized. Everyone other than Amir King picking up some armor. Obviously, he's trying to rush down for that Fountain of Renewal. But Techno JJ and Aeon both getting early armor. And the later this game goes, they're going to be able to build plenty of that armor. You know, I would expect all three of them to end up with tier 3 armor items, likely Atlas Pauldrons, because it is, again, Glaive and Ringo. You want to just be slowing those attack speeds. And the fact that they're going to have that much armor, regardless of how many bone saws you pick up, multiple bone saws only increases the speed at which you get up to that, I believe it's 35% armor pierce. So it doesn't make it doesn't give you extra armor pierce, it only gets you there faster.
Yeah, I mean, that can be the difference between winning and losing a fight, but certainly it's not quite as useful as it would be if you could just double up. But here comes the gank onto Techno JJ. He is in a bad spot right now, trying to turn things around. Aeon and Emmer King, they make their way up, but they are way too late. Snow Tsunami picking up their return kill here. So, interestingly, looking at the double weapon composition that we saw so much on 117 in North America, I actually remember when I was talking to some of the players in Europe here, where the first day we got here, they said, you know, I'm kind of surprised it was so popular because it's really easy to deal with. You know, you just go for the armor and you can easily handle any of that aggression. This time around, we're certainly seeing it actually picked by a European team, which I did not expect, especially on 118.
Yeah, definitely something that is a little out of the ordinary based on just previous experiences with the European region and these teams and players in particular. But it's working out thus far because they're able to keep even. We'll see again. The later the game goes, I feel like it is going to fall off, though.
I mean, we heard Snow Tsunami in their interview video just moments ago talking about the fact that they've been spending a lot of time watching other regions play. Maybe this is something that they, you know, picked up from North America just after watching the North American Championships, and they figured it would actually work on 118 as well. But let's take stock of the game as a whole. Snow Tsunami has actually clawed back that gold disadvantage. They're now 200 or 100 in the lead over GankStars after that kill they picked up onto Techno JJ earlier on. Looking at the items, No Life with the Sorrow Blade, he's got a lot of damage already.
Yeah, definitely going to be a painful Ringo. And look at me again with this glaive. It's one of his signature heroes. It's the Kroll and the glaive are the two that he's really been known for. And so he definitely knows this hero. He knows the limits of it, knows what he can do with it. So shouldn't be too difficult for him to try and go for more aggressive plays as we progress through this game.
Aeon picking up a Frostburn first here. Very big departure from the itemization we saw in the previous game. Do you like it here? What's the idea behind it?
I actually have always liked the Frostburn first pickup on someone like a Sky, even a Scarf, and things like that, because it just allows you to continuously output that damage. When you start getting a forward barrage onto someone, getting that little bit of extra slow allows you to put more of the forward barrage onto them. It makes it that much more difficult for them to escape your damage. So I have absolutely no problems with the Frostburn pickup. I know a lot of teams in North America were actually heavily shying away from it, but it's especially against a team that doesn't have the most move speed by just, you know, their regular walking speed. I feel like it's more effective against that, but look at the damage being put out right now from Snow.
Look at me actually doing a tremendous amount. If you actually examine his items, he hasn't picked up anything too big yet. You know, no Sorrow Blade. He's got that 6 Sins, now the Sorrow Blade. But considering how much damage he did before he picked that up, cause for concern for GankStars, I'm sure.
Yeah, and again, this is the early to mid-game glaive. Late game, depending on how he builds, if he builds a whole bunch of crit, then the damage just becomes absolutely massive. I would expect it to be a little bit tankier of a build from this glaive, but look at the gold mine being taken right now by GankStars, but here comes Snow to try and contest.
Oh, Hellfire Brew begins being channeled, allowing TechnoJJ to jump on the back line, but Aeon the main target here, no life. He's got to be careful. Fountain Pop keeping him healthy for the time being, but Techno gets the return. Aeon, he was not committed to fully by look at me. It wasn't the best situation, but he's going right back in. Bloodsong doing a huge amount of damage. He finds Aeon. There's the stun, but Sisiska has left him out to dry, not helping look at me get the target he wants. Techno, still so healthy, finds another, going for Sisiska too. This fight was just poor coordination from Snow Tsunami. That was a weird exchange. Techno might even get Sisiska here on point, finds the final kill. 3 kills in a gold mine. Great position to be in for GankStars.
Yeah, that's a big gold swing for them as they have now taken the lead. And again, like you said, it seemed almost just uncoordinated from Snow. Very unlike them. You know, it's easy to look at it and say, oh, it's because, you know, they have Look At Me subbing in who hasn't played with the team, but that just didn't look like it was a comfortable fight for them. So something was definitely off.
I mean, I think it really was a series of mistakes from start to finish. No Life channeling that Hellfire Brew from such close proximity. You've got to know Techno's going to try and close that gap. He did, and it was very difficult for No Life to deal with. Aeon jumped on a little bit by Look At Me, but the commitment just wasn't there, so they couldn't find even 1 kill. GankStars doing a good job so far at these fights, at least moving towards into the mid-game. Snow Tsunami, I mean, what's the avenue back into this for them? They gave up a pretty substantial lead.
I mean, they're still in this game. It's not, I mean, you look at the gold, it's already back down to 400. So it's not like they, you know, threw the game and they're completely way behind now. They're still very much in this game. One other thing about that fight was it looked like No Life that Hellfire Brew was actually put onto Arden, which is definitely not the target you want to be aiming for with such a long channel. So Snow Tsunami, they're definitely still in this. They can easily win these, especially, oh, I thought for sure he was going to go for that afterburn on Ion there.
I would not have resisted that impulse, but here comes a fight. Aeon starting to do some good damage here. Death from above, keeping Sisiska away from his teammates. Look at me with the afterburn, just a peel. No Life has made it back to the turret, though. GankStars, they can't close the gap, really commit to this one to get any kills, but the poke damage, the sort of ambient damage they put onto Snow is going to stop them from having the full range of movement here.
Yeah, taking a look at these items, you see No Life with that piercing is going to be very likely, you have to assume, going for that Bone Saw second item, needing to be able to break through this armor. There is an Atlas Pauldron on the side of GankStars, and again, just armor is going to start stacking up.
Oh, absolutely. Bonesaw has in fact been completed now for No Life, so he's going to be doing a decent job of facilitating, for example, Look At Me doing more damage too. It's one of those items where if you're all weapon power, just one person getting it benefits both of the damage sources on your team. But GankStars, they have complete control of the map right now. Getting the decent gold payout there, obviously a great position to be in. Atlas Pauldron on Emmer King. They should be in a good spot for the next few fights.
Well, let's see. I mean, so Sisiska, actually, speaking of next few fights, here we go.
Yeah, No Life jumped right on top of by TechnoJJ. Great damage coming across onto him. Look at me, wasn't in position, but he finds the afterburn and the first kill there. 1-for-1 trade for the time being. Tetno wants to keep things going, perhaps, but he's got to be careful. Look at me, does have a lot of damage building up. Blood Song fully charged here, so a big amount of burst can come across from Look at Me if he wants to commit for the kill. Root, Tetno JJ really in a bad position here. Stun again from Look at Me. They're playing this perfectly, finding the staggering of the crowd controls so that Tetno JJ was stunned for such a tremendous amount of time. GankStars, they should not have stuck around, or they should have committed. They needed to pick one.
Yeah, not only the staggering of the crowd control, but also they kind of baited them into it. They were like, oh, we're kind of interested in fighting, but they were just waiting for those cooldowns to come up.
Such a tease.
It was a great job. You can see here on the replay, look at this, just keeping them interested. You know, Look at Me, backs off and then takes one step in. He says, oh, look, you have all these heartthrob stacks on me. Come capitalize on this. And then right here, the Githian wall into the afterburn.
I mean, perfect.
Just absolutely phenomenal job there by Snow.
Yeah, that was a great example of how to play that kind of a situation. You have a lot of crowd control to work with. You just got to use it very smartly. Tetno, he's getting poked down a decent amount. Sisiska doing a nice job of really initiating these trades that No Life can capitalize on. Off the back of that previous kill that we saw on Tetno, Snow Tsunami actually now accumulating a marginal gold advantage, about 600 in the lead, but they're still down in kills. So very even game so far, certainly much more even than the game one that we saw. What's the breaking point here? Not the item, but the point at which that, you know, one of these teams starts to really pull ahead.
Oh, we may find out right now.
It's going to be going down onto Aeon. They might be looking for the kills here. No Life kiting backwards. Tetno cannot find his mark right now. Sisiska, he's very low, but easily able to just combat roll out of there. Great hero, of course, at getting out of sticky situations. That Lance, Look at Me, hiding in the bush, trying to get some damage down. King maybe wants a bit more of a fight. The afterburn already gone. Gauntlet finds its mark onto Look at Me. He's in a bit of a bad situation as Tetno goes under the turret. He wants these kills. No Life trying to kite backwards. He has got the damage, but he's very low on health. Doesn't have a lot to work with here. Tetno, he's rooted, but he's not taking enough damage here. Is he going to go down? The reflex block keeps him safe. Very well executed dive by GankStars. Snow Tsunami, they've got a little bit too greedy there, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I was the fact that No Life had a weapon infusion. I think it was Snow Tsunami, just they really wanted a fight badly just because of that weapon infusion, and it ended up costing them a little bit too over aggressive, but a phenomenal dive under that turret by GankStars. Tetno JJ going super aggressive, somehow managing to stay alive after picking up the kill deep on No Life. So the juggling of the turret aggro, the item usage from all three members, able to keep Tetno JJ alive in a situation where he honestly really shouldn't have been.
Okay, so what are we looking for next here, item-wise, for all of these players? No Life, he's got his core. Where do you go from here?
I would like to see actually a breaking point after some defensive items. He needs a little bit of defense, which he's got some tier 2s. I'd like to see that reflex block be finished into an Aegis, and then maybe a breaking point come out, and then finish off maybe a metal jacket is something I'd really like to see on him. But it looks like he is going to just go and get a little bit more crit picked up, selling in that attack speed for it.
Interesting. I guess he just wants that initial burst of damage. Hellfire Brew is going to be coming across here onto Aeon. Vanguard keeping him safe for the time being. I mean, that wasn't a bad use of the Hellfire Brew. It does kind of force GankStars to reevaluate their positioning in that lane, move backwards a little bit, and respect the initiation potential from Snow Tsunami. We also saw a weapon infusion picked up by No Life there, so they definitely want to fight sometime soon, but with the Shiver Steel now on Tetno, that could be big for GankStars.
Infusions for all 4 carries as we start up.
Sisiska had a beautiful route there. The stun as well, landing onto King. It's a 3 versus 2 right out of the gates, but No Life getting crunched through by Tetno right now. There just isn't enough damage. Look at Me, he's very low also. Sisiska and Look at Me, they need to get out of here. Look at Me going down. Sisiska, he's having a hard time making it back to the turret. Tetno and Aeon, they're coming in, trying to hunt this kill down, get themselves that ace, but Sisiska is admittedly very tanky right now. Oh, he misses! He gets the joke poke down. Githian wall also not landing. A bad position to be in there. Ace coming across for GankStars. They want to see this blind pick.
Yeah, Techno JJ on this Black Feather. He has gotten to that late game stage. We always talk about how strong Black Feather is in the late game, how well he scales. Once you get that breaking point, it's almost over. If you can't delete him instantly, they put so much effort in and took down Mirror King early on, but Techno JJ the entire time was building up stacks. I believe he got to 14 stacks on the breaking point before the fight was over, which is a massive amount of extra damage being gained. You can see here, Mirror King's already out, but Techno JJ is already working on those stacks. He's up to 10 at this point, and just look how quickly he takes out, look at me, once he tries to go for that afterburn over the wall to escape, and then it's just a matter of finishing off Sasiska. When you have so many stacks built up, that's not even that difficult, especially the turret doing a lot of damage over to Aeon being tanked up there.
All right, so the big thing for me here is, can Snow Tsunami keep No Life alive? They're not doing a great job of peeling for him so far, and with the Kraken pushing here, GankStars is in a great position to leverage their advantage. Aeon does get hit by the Hellfire Brew, but it's not really going to dissuade GankStars all that much. It's starting to move forward a little bit. You see the Kraken not even taking that much damage after its first turret kill. GankStars in a great position. 3 people getting rooted up there. Sasiska, combat roll, gonna try and go for the engage. Techno, he's very deep here. Aeon got forced back, but Techno is still alive. Look at me. He is now the main target. As you can see, Techno and Aeon playing around the side of the fight. Githian wall, it stuns everyone. Oh, beautiful play coming in from Sasiska, and ace for Snow Tsunami. They lose 2 turrets from that Kraken, but obviously a massive team fight for them.
Yeah, getting that ace and now the extra 500 gold per player off of the Kraken is huge. The fact that I was about to mention No Life was sitting at 0 kills. He just picked up all 3 of those, so that is no longer an issue for him. And going forward, it's looking at this replay of the fight. You can see the damage being done onto Techno JJ, getting focused down first. He thought he got away from this, but the big key here is this Lance play. A Githian wall, stunning
so
2,
beautiful.
a lunge, rooting 2. Just phenomenal,
Someone's got to
play.
frame that one for me. I think that was one of the highlight plays of this game at the very least. Snow Tsunami, what are they going to be able to get off the back of this, though? How can they take that fight and make something happen off the back of it? They are, in fact, in a gold lead. But of course, Techno is a great late game force, arguably more so than No Life is at the very least. Tyrant's monocle now on him, going to be doing a bit more damage though.
Yeah, look at me, just looking to finish off that camp, so he'll have enough gold for an infusion. I expect him to pick one up like immediately, because a fight could break out at any time, and if you have a carry without an infusion, he did just grab one, and now we could be going for a fight. The Hellfire Brew from downtown.
It's going to be landing onto Aeon, but it gets reflex blocked this time, so no burn damage. Aeon basically just tickled a little bit by that one. Look at me, leading the charge for the time being. Has to be careful as the engage comes across. Techno trying to get on the back line. No Life is doing a good job of kiting around. Look at Techno, he's actually melting right now. He's very low, he's the first to go down. No Life is still alive. Aeon can't do the damage to him. Surrey's right through, he finds the kill. Look at me, he's low on energy, doesn't have that afterburn available to him for the time being, so they can't re-engage, even though Snow Tsunami played that fight very nicely, and that's a trade I think they would love to take. Techno for No Life. They can't really get anything more off the back of it.
Yeah, and the fights are getting crazy now. Both teams know exactly who they need to focus.
Oh, yeah.
It's No Life and Techno JJ. Whichever one is taken down instantly, that it determines the fight. I mean, right there, they went after Techno JJ, but they didn't quite get him instantly.
I feel like actually No Life should have just sat inside of his team there, because Surrey's strike, it wouldn't necessarily have landed where he wanted it to if Aeon was jumping to the other side there, and he would have been able to have the backup more quickly from the rest of his teammates. So No Life, you know, you got to be careful when you're playing in these situations, not to focus too heavily on kiting when sometimes you just need a buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but if you are in the middle of your team, it's also much more difficult for you to be targeted by an opponent, especially when it's the Lance and Glaive. It can be tough to find a Ringo in between those two, but here we go.
Root, that does land on a Techno. Look at Aeon, he's getting melted right now. Look at me trying to commit for this kill. He finds it. No Life, he's not even that low right now. Techno getting obliterated. Snow Tsunami clean up the fight in style. No one even really taking damage. That was so much more convincing of a fight victory than we've seen from either team in so long. How did that go so well for Tsunami?
That crowd control, the Githian wall into the wall. wall, making the stuns, followed by an afterburn. You can see just immediately one of the carries taken out, and it just becomes a 2-on-3. Another Githian wall stun there, and from there it's just clockwork, chasing down a root onto the Arden, and it's... Again, the amount of crowd control that is coming out of Snow Tsunami, this is what we talked about. All the players said, Lance is so strong because of how low his cooldowns are. Even if you reflex block his abilities, they're going to be up again well before your reflex block is.
That is, yeah, I mean, there's no way you're going to have that one up quickly enough. So right now, Snow Tsunami, they've picked up the Kraken. They're about 2,000 gold in the lead over GankStars, but we've seen that GankStars can win fights, even when behind in gold. They've just got to pick the right fights. Certainly in a position where they have the home field advantage, they might be able to do just that. Snow Tsunami, they want to come in here. They've smelled blood. They're trying to find some turret kills and start making their way towards winning this game. No Life with the Hellfire Brew wants to set his team up to push though.
Yeah, they are just going to push the GankStars off of that turret. It goes down so quickly with so much weapon damage. Here comes the Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. No Life is going to be able to get out of the back of that one with the reflex block. Look at me covering him on that. Aeon can't get into position. Techno, he's so low. No Life, he needs to find the attacks. He does it. Emmer King, he's right in the middle of things, and Aeon gets the return kill onto No Life. Look at me very low here. GankStars in a great position to get this fight, but the Kraken, meanwhile, doing some work in the base. It's going to be able to take out one more of these turrets at the very least. Sasiska trying to tag team with that one. Go for the finish here. Can he do it, Bacon? I'm not sure he's going to have the damage. Obviously, a lot of crowd control he can use to buy time for the Kraken here, but Aeon has his eyes on the prize, trying to kill the Kraken. He knows that's the main priority. Githian wall stuns too, but look at this. The turret destruction annihilates the Kraken. Sasiska, I don't see him being able to kill the Vein Crystal by himself right now.
Yeah,
he's just going to have to try and get out of here, right? I mean, buying time isn't going to do you anything. Looks like he's going to be going down. This game is down to the wire.
Yeah, that it is going to be the ace picked up by the side of GankStars, but what are they going to be able to get off of that? The Kraken is obviously not available. They can't really go shove down into the base because you're going to have No Life and Look At Me up. They may look for a fight just while it's only the two carries from Snow available. That would be the best case scenario for me.
Yeah, I think that is probably what they should do. I mean, 30 seconds still on Sasiska. You can see GankStars quite close to the enemy territory here, but it looks like they're actually trying to maybe bait in some kind of over-aggression from Snow, sitting in that bush, being sneaky sausages.
Yeah, well, they're not going to get that over-aggression because Look At Me doesn't have enough gold for an infusion. So there's no way they're going to be going and looking for a fight. They're actually perfectly fine with just standing in their base, which is exactly what Look At Me is doing, waiting for that 500 gold to be available to him. I assume as soon as he has it, he'll just walk right back up into the shop.
He's got one in his inventory, actually, so he should be able to pop that when the fight starts.
Good eye. I actually did not see it.
Yeah, regardless, I don't think you want to pick one right now. You don't want to go looking for trouble when, you know, you don't really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. The infusion is used, and now they have all three members. Oh. They can go looking for a fight, and the flare doesn't quite get the vision.
Oh, this is...
Oh, it's so tense.
This is killing me, man.
Who's going to go for the moves first? They're walking close. The scout trap finds them, but they walked right past. They have gone right past GankStars, and now GankStars are trying to come up from the backside, but they just got spotted.
Yeah, Sasiska knows what's going on right now. Might be able to go for the Impale here onto all three, but the Gauntlet comes across. No Life is trapped inside of it. He's trying to deal the damage. Aeon forced back, but Tetno untouched. Look at me. He's turning on the backline. He knows he needs to keep No Life alive right now, but it's not going to be enough. First kill of the fight going to GankStars. This could be the play they were looking for. Sasiska making his way out of the fight. Look at me going to go down, though. GankStars, they might have just won the game with a very, very sneaky play. Oh, Sasiska. He's actually not going to get rooted up there, but himself, because he hit the camp as well. Trying to recall Tetno. Does he spot him in time? Oh, he gets the on point. Sasiska can't get back to the base, but is it going to be enough? You can see right now 2 members from GankStars making their way into the base. They've only got 2 turrets to go through here. Do they have the damage?
Here come the minions. They have the damage.
Yeah, Aeon's doing Sasiska. Oh, man, this guy is killing me. But
it's not going to matter.
Yeah, the respawn time is too long.
There, and with those minions going down, Sasiska did get recalled.
How did he get
back? But it doesn't matter. There's minions and 2 members on this crystal.
No Life's back up. Aeon doesn't have energy for a forward barrage and no weapon power to really chunk through this turret. He might be able to try and get this one down. Emmer King very low. No Life.
My goodness.
What is happening? Snow Tsunami. They defend. How did they defend? Aeon, Hellfire Brew doesn't have have the reflex block. He's a little bit slowed up right now, but Tetno, look at him. He's waiting in the wings. He wants to jump over the wall. Everyone from Tsunami is tunneling onto Aeon right now. Tetno, he's in the base. He's got the damage. What is this, GankStars? They're going to be able to win this. There's no way. Look at me. Oh my God, he's back in. The block doesn't stop the knockback. It's the damage here. Techno gets it.
Oh my goodness. What an ending to that game. Techno JJ with the backdoor.
Cool character.
He's just like, oh yeah, that was exactly as planned for Techno JJ there. Oh my goodness. So Siska almost, he saved the game and then very nearly saved it again, but just not quite enough range on that last Githian wall to knock Techno JJ away from the Vayne. What a phenomenal game.
The ending of that game's got to be one of my favorites for a while now. That was really well played by Techno. At the same time,
they may have had it resolved there. They look ready to go. So we'll see. We should be getting back into game momentarily.
All right, so we got a bit of time, actually, whilst this pause is happening, to break down the compositions more fully. Pause, in fact, just resolved. That's great. We've got the Kestrel, Kroll, and Finn up against the Lance, Adagio, and Kestrel. Kestrel on both sides. Which one's got the team to back him up best?
Well, again, I feel like the protection is there a bit more from GankStars. Obviously, Snow, they have the healing and the immense amount of crowd control from Lance. But you also have a ton of tankiness on the side of GankStars and a really difficult front line to get through. So they both are going to be heavily focusing on protecting that Kestrel. Looks like we may be getting 2 weapon Kestrels. We'll have to see where those itemizations do go.
Yeah, Weapon Kestrel, something that's been quite popular recently. We saw Vonsi using it to great effect over in North America. Both these guys trying to echo that here in Europe. Currently, Snow Tsunami sitting with lots of members up towards the lane. I guess they're a bit afraid of ganks early on, coming across onto No Life. Certainly something we see in Europe a great deal is the early aggression from Krolls.
Yeah, and that's the way you play a Kroll, is you make your first rotation, and then you go up into the lane, get that Shadows Empower Me heroic perk, and use it to secure an early First Blood along with the Spectral Smite. But very well scouted by Snow Tsunami, making sure that that doesn't happen this time around. And we're just going to have a pretty passive early game, I would assume. Obviously, neither team wanting to overextend and make a mistake that could cost them this match and send them down to the loser's bracket.
Yeah, I really feel like in this final game, of course, the stakes are higher than ever for the two teams. They want to play it safe anyway, but also with both of these compositions, the mid game, the late game is really when they come alive and you can start doing so much work. I think for Snow Tsunami, looking more towards the mid game, GankStars maybe looking a little bit more towards the late game. How do you feel, you know, which one of these teams is going to pull the trigger first? It certainly seems like GankStars right now, as Aeon goes right in there, but Githian while buying some time for No Life. Big smite, but it's not going to be enough. First blood of the game 3 going to Snow Tsunami. Even though they're on enemy territory right now, very well played.
Yeah, I am not quite able to get enough damage on this fight. Another big difference was actually the two Kestrels. Techno JJ went for tier 2 boots as the very first purchase, whereas No Life had just gotten a little bit of extra damage. So that could have been, you know, the deciding factor in that first skirmish. But obviously, again, nice start into a Githian roll.
That is the Lance play.
Kill. Oh my goodness, that is, I mean, the kill went to No Life, but that is a very, it looks the same on the scoreboard, but that's a very large assist going over to Sosiska.
Yeah, probably the largest assist you can get. Very well played by Snow Tsunami, keeping this ball rolling, picking up their second kill. Only 3 and a bit minutes into the game. They have got around 400 gold in advantage, so a nice position for them to be in. You can see Sosiska, I mean, he really took his time just going up the lane, playing it slow. Yeah, I mean,
playing the long game, but look at this. When he comes out, the root just connecting. The Githian wall pretty much at the max range on the width of it as well. Just absolutely beautiful play coming out of that Lance.
Yeah, Emerkin not able to be rooted up there. He's, of course, playing that Finn, so he's pretty indomitable.
One of my favorite things about Finn is just when you do get an effect on you that would be a root or, you know, a knockback, a stun, the little chuckle that comes out. You can hear it if you listen.
This is why the change they made in 1.18 for Android to allow you to turn music down without turning sound down is the best change ever. You know, I hyped this up before, but it's so good. Now I can listen to this stuff and have my own music playing plan. Tetno, look at the damage onto him right now. Oh, look at me walking right forward, picking up another one. 3 kills. Snow Tsunami starting to really push their advantage here. Quibble does land from Emmerking onto everyone. Without the minions here, Snow Tsunami wouldn't be able to get the turret, but still, the aggression is paying off.
Yeah, Adagio, once she gets into this sort of early to mid game, the very early game isn't that strong for him, but once he has a little bit of damage, obviously going with that triple crystal bit out of the jungle, the damage that comes out of Adagio, it's very difficult to account for, because you never really know just how much damage it's going to be with that buff or who it's going to be coming from. Because obviously if he buffs himself, you have to worry about his basic attacks. If it's on the Kestrel, you have to worry about no life.
Look at me's build here. I mean, he's just going crystal bits and attack speed, probably an alternating current later on, but the path that he's choosing to get there is a little bit interesting. We more frequently see some of the more substantial components. What do you think about this? Is this designed to really allow Look at Me to be as strong as possible in the early game?
That's exactly what it is. He wants to get the snowball going so that he can get into those items a little bit. It actually, you can get to something like that alternating current and all a little bit quicker by not going for it immediately, because obviously we just saw there the damage he has with the Adagio right now. If you're building directly towards the alternating current, you don't have quite as much damage at this point in time. So it allows him to get a little bit snowball, a little bit quicker jungle clear, and so once he does go for the alternating current, which he very likely is, as you mentioned, you can get it that much quicker.
All right, so the turret in lane for GankStars is already very low. You can see they kind of have to scramble to deal with the push, but they're not going to be able to. Snow Tsunami, 6 minutes in, taking the turret down with no contest. GankStars struggling a great deal here.
Yeah, the gold lead is the largest gold lead we've seen at a 6-minute mark, with 2,000 being in the favor of Snow Tsunami, looking so strong early on. But again, we do always talk about Kroll, once you get towards the late game, can be a menace. It depends on if he builds damage, though. That's we saw it in game number 1, where the damage wasn't being built. It was just a problem, really, for GankStars, that they only had the one source of damage completely. So hopefully they change up the build a bit, but if they don't, it could be trouble.
Oh, that root was on the very edge. One shot, one kill, doing
kill.
Some good damage. Look at me speeding forwards, but polite company, keeping Emmerking, helping out his team, doing a good job of allowing Tetno JJ just to back away there. Something I wanted to highlight, actually, is if you look at Emmerking right now, he's got the stuff that he needs to get a fountain. He made his way down. Just as he went for that, Snow Tsunami went for the engage. So really well timed. I don't know if they had an idea that was going to happen, but it was pretty much as good as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the gold lead right now in the items as they pick up an immense gold payout and head to the shop. Snow Tsunami, they just have more items completed and more items in the inventory. The Sorrow Blades are both completed for Kestrels, but it was done about a minute or so earlier for No Life than it was for Tetno JJ, and a lot more secondary items. Having that reflex block in the inventory this early on is going to be a big benefit for him.
Most definitely. GankStars certainly on the back foot moving into this third game. It's the all-important one to decide whether you go to the winners bracket or the elimination bracket. But if we've seen anything from these guys, it's that they can come back in style. Last game, beautiful backdoor from Tetno JJ. They're going to be looking to really make their way back into this game as soon as possible. Looking at the Kestrels, obviously we're seeing this item discrepancy between No Life and Tetno JJ. What's the point at which items start to sort of fall off in terms of how much you gain per item pickup? That, I feel, is when these teams are going to even out a lot.
Yeah, I feel it's right around once both teams have 2.5 items or so. Like the second and third items, those are big power spikes. As you can see, a one-shot, one-kill does connect onto Tetno JJ, but not really enough to make GankStars have to rethink their position.
Emmerking just hit level 6. Might be going for that forced chord sometime soon. One shot, one kill from Tetno. Not going to be landing on to anyone, however. So Snow Tsunami, I'm just going to back away. I'm guessing they saw that Emmerking hit 6 and they were like, okay, now's the time that we don't push.
Yeah, you don't want to get pulled underneath that turret, especially with the amount of damage that can come out from the Kestrel and Kroll. If it's onto a active camo field, you can end up stunned there for a long time.
Yeah, very nice synergy that those heroes have with one another. Snow Tsunami, they know that it's difficult for them right now to play under a turret or against a turret, given that Emmer King can hook them there, but they can go for these invades, because Emmer King's hooks are going to be sort of marginalized in that area of the map. Doing a good job of rotating around here, just denying gold where they can from GankStars.
Yeah, I want to take another look at the item differences right now. On the roamers, you can see Sosiska with the fountain and then having some armor already built up. But oh, look at the fight starting up. Aeon's getting taken down very low.
He did not reflex block the Githian wall there, so nice stun coming across. One shot, one kill, chunking Emmer King down. Snow Tsunami, they did not take any incidental damage there. I mean, there was no opportunity for GankStars to return anything upon them. Now, Snow easily able to pick up the minion mine. They've got complete control over the map.
Yeah, the entire Halcyon fold belongs to Snow Tsunami right now. The jungle on the GankStars side, they've just cleaned it out. The jungle on their side is all up and doing well. They can go and take that whenever they want. Right after they get this gold mine, I assume they will probably send at least one of them back to clean out that gold. As the minion mine stolen right back, but again, decent gold payout picked up, almost an immense gold payout.
Okay, so we just saw No Life get a breaking point. We saw Sosiska picking up a Crucible. I feel like now's their chance, right? This is when they have, firstly, a big item lead, but secondly, the items that they need. Crucible, of course, very important against a Forced Accord. The breaking point going to be useful in these extended fights against weakness stacks and kind of the mirror matchup with the Kestrel. So Snow Tsunami, they're making it happen, starting to move up towards this lane. When do they go commit to this push, though? Right now, they're really just focusing on the minion mine.
Yeah, and I actually really do not like this focus on the minion mine, but well, we might be getting that fight coming out just momentarily as everyone is grouped up here. The root is out, and here we go.
Githian wall as well onto Tetno. Look at the damage. He's taking so much of it right now. Emmer King, the new target, he locks himself into the Quibble animation and enables Snow Tsunami to just barrage down the damage. He could find an interesting Forced Accord here, but I'm actually not sure it would pan out. Even though it's into their base, he'd get blown up, and Tetno's too far away to help. So
yeah,
just going to be going back to the fountain. Tsunami starting to make their way into the lane now that they have space created with Emmer King heading back. How much damage can they get on the turret?
They can definitely get quite a bit. Tenno JJ clears out the minions quickly, but the damage from a Adagio with this buff comp and already having, again, that alternating current and just more crystal damage on top of that, you can see the glimmer shots enough to finish off that turret. Now we'll see our GankStars going to try and chase this one out. One shot, one kill, eaten by Sosiska. There's still no Forced Accord being used, though.
Emmer King has the patience of a saint, but you've got to wonder if he's got the wisdom of one, because I feel like you maybe wanted to go for the engagement sometime there. Sosiska is quite low. When are you going to get a better opportunity for GankStars?
Yeah, it's like you said, definitely the patience of a saint. I would not have passed up that opportunity. Either it was a good opportunity or not. I feel like I probably wouldn't have passed that one up. It just looked so juicy, but it was not taken. Now you can see the minion mine once again going to be stolen back. This is why I don't like constantly capturing your opponent's minion mine, because every time you leave that jungle, it just gives them more gold. If you let them have that minion mine, yeah, the minions aren't going to push in automatically for your side, but you're not giving free gold to your opponents.
So with some of that gold that we were just talking about, we saw GankStars get item spikes on all three members. Tyrant's Monocle, Atlas Pauldron, and a Clockwork for Emmer King. That certainly is going to allow him to throw out more of these Forced Accords, be a bit more liberal about the use.
Once he throws out one of them, he'll have thrown out more than he's thrown all game. So maybe the Clockwork not the best choice there, because what do you need the cooldown for if you don't use the ability?
Polite company with Clockwork's pretty good. I mean, it's certainly an item that synergizes nicely with the Finn, but I do have a concern that maybe he's not tanky enough here. You talked earlier on about the fact that he was going to be a very difficult front line for Tsunami to maybe get through. Doesn't look quite like that right now.
Yeah, you can see that the damage is being dished out to him. A nice Githian wall.
That is going to land onto several people. Tetno immediately needing to run away here. Look at me actually going for the ultimate. Finds the stun onto Tetno. Great damage. Fountain keeping him safe. Aeon can't get the kill. Sosiska the only one diving onto the backline though. Aeon the main target. Forced Accord brings them close to Tetno. Emmer King, what are you doing? That was a huge misplay. GankStars aced cleanly by Snow. They are looking to flawlessly take home this game 3 and move forward to the winner bracket.
Yeah, they have a couple minions with at them too. They could potentially look to end this game if they play it right. The respawns are going to come through. They split the damage on the turrets, but they have both turrets down. Here comes GankStars to try and save the game.
They do not have the chance to do this one. No Life and Look at Me doing great damage to the main crystal. The defense is not enough from the GankStars. Although you do it, yeah, okay, there you go. They're going to be taking down the main crystal. Snow Tsunami in a pretty much perfect game 3, doing a great job of getting vengeance for the backdoor that came across from Tedno in game 2. I really feel like there was a lot of sort of questionable decisions from GankStars in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as much as I love the Finn, I have to give a shout out to, you know, one of the Finn gods, Mowgli. He had said before this tournament started, I was asking him about Finn, and he said, you know, I'm actually not too big on Finn anymore because of the fact that those forced accords can actually, you know, teams have gotten used to playing against it, and it can hurt you more often than not. That's exactly what we saw there. He didn't throw a single forced accord all game. The only one he throws ends up getting Tedno JJ killed.
Yeah, and ends up losing them the game. I mean, that was the push that secured things for Snow Tsunami. These guys are looking pretty strong in day 1. Of course, both the teams coming in with a substitute player. Look at Me coming in for PT Lamb, Aeon coming in from Leon. But Snow Tsunami having the better half of the deal, at least in this matchup. So they're going to be moving forward to the winner's bracket to play up against a team as of yet